Hello everybody! Today I'm going to show you how I turned this thrifted men's shirt into a dress. That's today on Refashioning with Rachel. The very first thing I did was remove the pocket from the front. Then, while I tried the dress on, I made a mark a centimeter below where I wanted the waist to be. And using the grid lines already on the shirt, I cut the bottom part off of the shirt and saved it for later. Then I cut off the sleeves and saved those for later. Now the back of the shirt had this pleat that I didn't really want to have in the finished dress. So I pinned the pleat down and edge stitched along the folds. And now the back lies nice and flat. I folded the bodice in half, carefully lining up the shoulder seams and the side seams. Then I folded a shirt that fit me well in half the same way and carefully placed it on top of the thrifted shirt with the shoulders and the back lined up. And I carefully traced around that shirt, adding a centimeter for seam allowance. Then I cut along those lines. And now I have my bodice piece cut out. For the sleeves, I did the same thing. Using the fitted shirt as a pattern, I put it on top of the thrifted shirt and traced around it, adding a centimeter for seam allowance. And then I cut that out. And then I used that sleeve as a pattern for cutting out the other sleeve. I cut in a little notch on the fold of the sleeve to indicate the shoulder. And I cut notches on the shoulders of the bodice. And then I opened up the bodice so that I could pin the sleeves to the armholes, starting with the notches at the shoulders. And then I kept pinning the sleeve to the bodice, working from one end of the armhole towards the shoulder. When I got close to the shoulder, I made some little pleats in the sleeve to make it fit into the bodice. This is going to make a little gathered effect on the shoulders. And then starting on the other end of the armhole, I pinned my way up to the shoulder seam. And then again, I made some little pleats near the shoulder seam to make it fit. And I pinned the other side in the same way. And then I sewed those seams. Because of those little pleats I did earlier, the shoulders ended up a little bit puffy. Then with right sides facing, I pinned the side seams and underneath the sleeve. And then I sewed the sleeves and the side seams all in one go. I started with the cuffs so that I could make sure they were perfectly lined up. And I worked my way up the sleeve. And then down the side seams. After serging the raw edges, I finished off the cuff by pushing the seam toward the button side of the cuff, and I sewed that seam down so it would lie flat on the cuff. Then I tried the bodice on and roughly pinned in where I wanted to add some darts. And I also added pins to the side seams. With the bodice off, I could more clearly mark in where I wanted to make those adjustments. I played around with the size of the darts for a little bit until I found something that worked well. Then I pinned and sewed the darts and the new side seams. To sew the darts, I started at the bottom and I sewed right up to the top, running off the edge and leaving long threads. And then I took those threads and tied them into 3 knots. And I re-sewed the side seams, making the new seam blend in with the old seam. So now, working with the bottom part of the shirt that I cut off, I marked 1 centimeter more than the waistline of the bodice and made a line from that mark to the bottom of the shirt and cut along those lines. And with right sides facing, I pinned and sewed along the side seams. I started at the bottom of the skirt so that it would be easier to match up the front and the back hems. And I didn't get it on camera, but I sewed together the front and the back on the button placket so that it wouldn't fly open. I put a pin indicating the center back of the skirt and the bodice. I opened up the bodice so I could work with it more easily, and I opened up the skirt and placed it on top of the bodice, lining up the center back and the side seams and the button plackets. And then I sewed the skirt to the bodice. After serging that seam, I folded the seam toward the bodice and stitched it down so that it would lie flat, just along where the button placket is. And that's it. This project was finished. So here's a reminder of how this shirt looked before. And here's how it looks now. And here it is with the sleeves rolled down. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe if you did, and have a beautiful day.